The last 9 months have been incredibly tough for us as a family. Life as you know it can change in an instant. And we've had...
Just 3 minutes ago, the palace released a statement that changed everything. And the words chosen were far more unsettling than anyone expected. For weeks, the world has been watching closely, sensing that something wasn't being fully said. Today, that silence cracked, not with reassurance, but with restraint so heavy it raised new alarms. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has always been the steady presence, the calm center of a monarchy navigating constant pressure. That is why this update feels different. The palace did not speak with confidence. It did not offer timelines, and most importantly, it did not promise improvement. Instead, it asked for patience, privacy, and understanding, a combination that, in royal language, often signals uncertainty behind closed doors. Sources familiar with palace protocols say statements like this are never released lightly. Every word is debated, every phrase filtered, especially when health is involved. Which raises a troubling question. Why now? Why this wording? And why does it feel like the palace is preparing the public for something more serious than previously admitted? As social media erupted within minutes and concern spread far beyond Britain, one truth became clear. This is no longer just about absence from public duties. This is about a situation still unfolding, one the palace can no longer soften with tradition or silence. And as we look closely at what was said and what was carefully left unsaid, a far more complex and emotional reality begins to emerge. The palace statement released just minutes ago may appear restrained on the surface, but for those who understand royal communication, it carries extraordinary weight. This was not a routine health update, nor was it framed to calm growing concern. Instead, it was carefully measured, emotionally distant, and deliberately incomplete, all signs that the reality behind the scenes is far more serious than the public has been allowed to see. Royal statements are never written casually. Each sentence passes through multiple layers of approval, legal review, and strategic consideration. When health is involved, the process becomes even more cautious. That is why today's wording immediately caught the attention of royal correspondents and institutional observers. The absence of reassurance was striking. There was no mention of steady recovery, no reference to progress, no projected timeline. These omissions are not accidental. They are signals. What stood out most was the emphasis on continued monitoring and the request for extended privacy. In past situations involving temporary illness or recovery, the palace has leaned on optimism, often highlighting improvement or readiness to return in due course. This time, the language leaned away from certainty and toward adaptation. In royal terms, this suggests that outcomes remain unclear and that internal planning is already accounting for prolonged absence. Multiple insiders familiar with palace operations have quietly acknowledged that discussions around Catherine's role have shifted in recent weeks. Engagement calendars have been cleared not just temporarily, but with long-range flexibility in mind. Staff have been reassigned. Event planning has been adjusted to avoid future reversals. These are not the actions of an institution expecting a quick resolution. There is also the emotional undertone, subtle, but unmistakable. The statement referenced family unity and personal well-being more prominently than public responsibility. This shift matters. It reframes Catherine not as a royal figure managing a temporary setback, but as a person navigating a deeply serious situation with her family at the center of every decision. When an institution built on duty pivots toward humanity, it signals gravity. Equally telling is the timing of the announcement. The palace has resisted pressure for weeks, allowing speculation to circulate rather than responding prematurely. The decision to speak now suggests that silence was no longer sustainable. Either public concern had reached a level that required acknowledgement, or internal developments made it necessary to recalibrate expectations. In either case, today's statement marks a clear turning point. Medical professionals not affiliated with the palace have noted that language, emphasizing reassessment and flexibility, often accompanies conditions that do not follow predictable recovery paths. While no diagnosis was shared, the structure of the update mirrors scenarios where treatment plans evolve over time rather than move steadily toward conclusion. This does not confirm worst-case outcomes, but it does challenge earlier Assumptions of simplicity. Another critical detail lies in what the statement did not deny. The palace did not counter speculation directly. It did not correct narratives circulating online. Instead, it chose restraint. Historically, when misinformation poses a threat to public understanding, the palace has intervened more forcefully. Today's silence suggests that drawing firm lines may not yet be possible. For the monarchy, this moment carries institutional consequences. Catherine has become one of its most stabilizing figures, admired for consistency, relatability, and quiet authority. Her absence reshapes public perception and internal dynamics alike. The palace knows this. That awareness permeates the statement, giving it an unusually somber tone. Ultimately, today's announcement does not close a chapter. It opens a new and uncertain phase. One defined by caution rather than confidence, by patience rather than promises. And as Britain absorbs these words, the deeper meaning becomes impossible to ignore. The palace is no longer managing a narrative. It is responding to a reality still unfolding. One that demands honesty without clarity and restraint without reassurance. The moment the palace statement became public, the reaction was immediate and unusually restrained. There was no frenzy, no theatrical outrage, no rapid cycle of rumors driven by official contradiction. Instead, a heavy quiet settled in. Across Britain and beyond, people paused, reread the words, and sensed that this announcement was different from anything issued before. Social media, often chaotic during royal news, reflected a noticeable shift in tone. Messages of speculation gave way to expressions of concern, empathy, and unease. Even seasoned royal commentators, voices known for confident analysis, chose their words carefully. Many admitted that the phrasing felt unfamiliar, almost guarded in a way that suggested unresolved uncertainty rather than temporary disruption. What made this reaction so powerful was Catherine's unique position in public life. She is not merely respected. She is trusted. Over years of consistent public service, she has come to represent stability during times of change. For many, she symbolizes balance between tradition and modernity, visibility and restraint. When someone so dependable is suddenly surrounded by ambiguity, the emotional impact multiplies. Across the country, conversations shifted from curiosity to concern. Newsrooms slowed their commentary. Charitable organizations associated with Catherine released messages emphasizing compassion and patience rather than optimism. Even political leaders avoided analysis, offering only brief statements of support. This collective restraint revealed an unspoken understanding. This situation extends beyond public relations. International reaction mirrored Britain's mood. Messages of solidarity arrived from across Europe, North America, and Commonwealth nations. Catherine's influence has long transcended borders, and today's update reminded the world of her quiet global presence. Foreign media outlets highlighted the seriousness of the palace's wording, noting the absence of familiar reassurances that typically accompany royal health news. Perhaps most striking was the response from those who usually criticize the monarchy. In this moment, division softened. Commentary focused less on institution and more on individual well-being. That shift matters. It suggests that the palace's statement succeeded in reframing the narrative, from royal performance to human vulnerability. Behind this public response lies a deeper emotional reality. Many see Catherine as someone who is giving consistency without seeking attention. Her sudden withdrawal from public view created a void that today's announcement only partially fills. The lack of clarity forces audiences to confront uncertainty, something the monarchy traditionally works hard to minimize. Media analysts have also pointed out what did not happen. There was no coordinated attempt to redirect attention. No competing announcements. No effort to dilute the message with unrelated royal activity. The palace allowed the statement to stand alone. That decision amplified its impact, allowing gravity to settle without distraction. In households across Britain, the update prompted reflection rather than discussion. People remembered past moments when the monarchy felt fragile, times when health and continuity collided. Those memories resurfaced not out of fear, but recognition. History has taught the public that such moments demand patience. This reaction, subdued yet deeply emotional, reveals the true weight of today's announcement. It is not driven by panic but by understanding. A shared sense that something meaningful is unfolding. And that respect, not speculation, is required. As the hours pass, attention remains fixed not on what might come next, but on what was just acknowledged. The palace did not provide answers. It provided honesty within limits. And that, perhaps more than any detail, explains why this update resonates so deeply. The public is not waiting for spectacle. It is waiting for truth. Slowly, carefully, and with compassion. And until that truth becomes clearer, this quiet concern will continue to shape the national mood. While the public absorbs the carefully chosen words of today's announcement, a very different atmosphere exists behind palace walls. Here, the statement is not viewed as an update. It is understood as a line drawn between what can be shared and what must remain protected. And that distinction reveals just how serious the situation has become. Sources familiar with royal operations describe a household functioning under quiet recalibration. Schedules are no longer being postponed. They are being redesigned. Plans once considered temporary have now been replaced with flexible frameworks, allowing for prolonged uncertainty. This is a subtle but critical shift. Institutions built on routine only abandon. Fixed planning when they must. At the center of this recalibration stands the Prince of Wales. Those close to the household say his priorities have narrowed with remarkable clarity. Public duty continues, but it no longer defines the rhythm of daily life. Family stability has become the anchor point around which all decisions turn. This change has been gradual, but today's announcement confirms it publicly for the first time. Catherine's absence has altered more than appearances. It has changed the emotional balance of the royal environment. She has long been described by staff as a calming presence, someone who brings quiet order to complex situations. Without that presence, the atmosphere has inevitably shifted. Decisions now carry more weight, conversations take longer, and every public move is examined through the lens of sensitivity. Staff members are reportedly operating under heightened discretion. Communication protocols have tightened. Access is limited. Information flows upward, not outward. This is not secrecy for its own sake. It is containment. When situations remain medically or emotionally unresolved, containment becomes essential. There is also the matter of the children. Protecting them from speculation and intrusion has become a primary concern. School routines, family time, and private spaces are being guarded with renewed intensity. The palace's repeated emphasis on privacy today was not symbolic, it was practical. The younger generation is being shielded from a spotlight that has suddenly grown harsher. Within royal circles, there's quiet acknowledgement that expectations must be reset. Catherine's return to public life, whenever it occurs, will not be marked by ceremony or spectacle. It will be cautious, gradual, and carefully staged if and when it is possible. Today's statement subtly prepares the public for that reality, asking not for anticipation, but for patience. What makes this moment particularly complex is Catherine's role in shaping the modern monarchy. She represents continuity without rigidity, tradition without distance. Her absence creates a vacuum that cannot be easily filled. Other members may step forward, but the emotional connection she fosters is singular. There are also institutional considerations unfolding quietly. Charitable initiatives associated with Catherine are being maintained, but without visibility. This decision preserves continuity without placing pressure on recovery. It reflects an understanding that presence is not required for influence, and that restraint can be a form of leadership. Insiders stress that no, dramatic decisions are being made in haste. The monarchy is not reacting, it is adapting. That distinction matters. Adaptation signals acceptance of uncertainty rather than denial of it. It suggests preparedness for multiple outcomes, rather than commitment to a single narrative. As the day progresses, one truth becomes increasingly evident. Today's announcement did not reveal everything, but it revealed enough. Enough to confirm that this is not a brief pause. Enough to indicate that life inside the palace has entered a quieter, more fragile phase. And in that quiet, the monarchy is doing what it has always done during its most testing moments, slowing down, closing ranks, and prioritizing humanity over performance. The public may not see these adjustments directly, but they are shaping every decision being made right now. This is not the sound of an institution in crisis. It is the sound of one bracing itself, carefully, deliberately for an uncertain road ahead. As the weight of today's announcement settles, attention naturally turns toward what lies ahead, not in terms of dates or appearances, but in meaning. Moments like this do not simply pass through institutions built on continuity. They reshape them. And for the monarchy, this may become one of those defining periods remembered not for spectacle, but for restraint. Catherine's role has never been confined to visibility. Her influence has been quiet, steady, and deeply personal. She has represented a bridge between tradition and the present, someone who made duty feel human rather than ceremonial. That is why her current absence carries such emotional consequence. It challenges the monarchy to function without one of its most stabilizing forces. The palace's approach moving forward will likely remain measured. Today's announcement suggests a long-term strategy grounded in realism rather than reassurance. Updates, if they come, will be sparse. Language will remain careful, and expectations will continue to be managed not through promises, but through patience. For the Prince of Wales, this period represents a dual burden. He is navigating public responsibility while anchoring his family through uncertainty. That balance will shape his leadership in ways no rehearsal ever could. Observers have already noted a subtle shift in his public demeanor, less performative, more deliberate. It reflects a man adjusting not to crisis, but to complexity. The broader monarchy, too, is being tested. Institutions reveal their true character not during celebration, but during vulnerability. How the palace handles this moment, with dignity, empathy, and restraint, will influence public trust long after the details of today's announcement fade. Public sentiment, for now, remains compassionate. There is no demand for disclosure, only understanding. That response is not accidental. It is the result of years of consistency, of Catherine showing up quietly, without drama and without distance. In this moment, the public is returning that respect. What happens next will unfold slowly. There will be no dramatic reveal, no sudden shift in tone. Instead, this story will continue in fragments, a postponed engagement here, a carefully worded update there. Each small detail will be interpreted through the lens of today's announcement, carrying weight far beyond its size. Yet within this uncertainty lies something enduring. The monarchy has survived not by avoiding hardship, but by absorbing it, allowing moments of vulnerability to humanize an institution often seen as untouchable. Catherine's journey, now partially shared, does exactly that. It reminds the world that strength is not the absence of difficulty, but the grace with which it is faced. As Britain reflects on this moment, the narrative has shifted. This is no longer about speculation or schedules. It is about empathy, patience, and respect for boundaries. The palace has drawn a line, not to hide the truth, but to protect it until clarity becomes possible. In time, answers will come. But for now, today stands as a pause, a collective breath taken by an institution and a nation alike. And in that pause, one message resonates more clearly than any statement could ever express. Some moments demand silence. Not because there is nothing to say, but because what matters most is still unfolding.